how about we give it up for Andy and Andy's crew for putting this thing on? Oh my God! This is really something. Thank you, Andy. My name is Chris. I am an alcoholic. I'm really grateful to be here. There's something going on out in this area. I've been out here a couple of times, and I always enjoy it. And today is just the two speakers that today is starting off really good. I'm really, really happy to be a part of this. Now my job today is going to be to talk on step 4. Step 4. Here's how I see step 4 today. I see step 4 and 5 as incredibly deep today. Like when I first approached step 4 and 5, it was about, I'm mad at Harry, because of this, and I'm afraid of the police. Yeah, I look into the spiritual principles and exercises of step 4 today, and they hit me where I am with multiple decades of recovery, and it truly is kind of amazing. I want to tell you a little bit about my alcoholism, so you know that I'm in the right room. I drank, and it was of concern to a lot of people that I was drinking around. From the get-go, I understood that I drank different than most of the people that I was hanging out with. I was always the drunkest guy. I was always the person that was in trouble. I was always the person that passed out. It was a mess, and I had a relationship with alcohol. The very first time I got drunk, it was me and two of my buddies, and we decided we were going to cut school and we were going to go back to my house and we were going to get drunk. This is going to be cool. I'm like 13. And we do that. We go back to my house. I pull out a dusty bottle of Four Roses liquor, and I pour out 3 water glasses of warm Four Roses. To this day, I would have a Pavlovian retching response if you put that underneath my nose, because what happened next was not good. But what happened was we all sat down, we started drinking, and the two guys that I was with had, I suppose, what would be a normal reaction to alcohol. I don't know anything about that. But they had 2/3 of their glass and they pushed it back. They had had enough. Now what happened to me was I finished my glass, I grabbed their glasses, I did as much damage to the bottle as I possibly could, and I came to in a field with like 6 missing hours. It was my first blackout. I'm 13 years old. I go into a blackout drunk. Any blackout drinkers in here? Yeah, look at those hands. So this recording is going to go back to my home group. So I want to make the announcement that all 1,200 people here raised their hand. Now, so blackouts are disconcerting, aren't they? Like, where was I? How did I get to Topeka? And where's my other shoe? And from the get-go, that's kind of how I drank. So right out of the gate, I started to figure out I've got to learn how to manage this alcohol, right? So I'm not going to drink Four Roses anymore. I'm going to, I've got to look around. I got to figure out how to make this work, because not drinking was immediately out of the question for me, because alcohol did something for me. I only realize it looking back in retrospect, but I was disconnected in a way that was very profound from you, from my world, from the spirit. There was a disconnection there. And what happened with that disconnection is it gave me a toxic experience of self-consciousness. I believe at heart that's what alcoholism is. It's a toxic experience of self-consciousness. And why I think that way was I was always uncomfortable with myself and my environment from kindergarten on, right? I never felt connected to. I was always worried, like, well, what are they going to say? Maybe they're going to pick on me. Oh, I hope they don't call me for an oral report. Oh, the cops are behind me. Oh, yeah. I mean, just everything was this experience of self-consciousness. And when I picked up that bottle of Four Roses whiskey, it was the first time I was free of that. It's on now. This is great. This is great. You're my two new best friends. This is the coolest place. It's the coolest time. We're going to do this tomorrow. I felt larger than life. All that self-centered fear was off me. And so giving up alcohol wasn't an option. So because it was the freedom from Chris potion, So I start moving along, trying to manage alcohol. I'm sure everybody in here has done it, whether they've done it consciously or unconsciously. We do it with pot. We do it with cocaine. We do it by changing brands. Like I went from hard liquor to beer, And, all these machinations to be able to continue to use alcohol without going into a blackout in 60 minutes, So I'm moving forward with my life. And what I see again in retrospect is the alcohol, although it offered me temporary reprieve from the bondage of Chris, it made the bondage of Chris worse. So what I mean by that is the toxic experience of self-consciousness in between drinks was getting worse. And so I was drinking more to escape it. And it got to the point at the end of my drinking where it wasn't working anymore. It wasn't giving me the escape that I was looking. I used to have this beautiful, beautiful escape between drink 6 and drink 9. And what it would look like, it would look like this. And alcohol stopped doing that for me. Instead, what I was turning into was a psychotic lunatic, which ruins the atmosphere, anywhere you are when you try to kill people and stuff, They don't like it. So it got to the point where there just wasn't anything left in alcohol, but now I'm so deep into it, I can't separate from it. I would come to in the morning wearing the clothes that I had passed in the night before. I'd stagger, up to the bathroom because I got to be at work in half an hour. I'd throw some water on my face, do a couple vomiting calisthenics, stagger out to my $100 car and go off to my terrible job. And the whole time, for years I used to think that I had hangovers. But looking into it more deeply, what I've found is I wasn't suffering from hangovers. I was suffering from alcohol poisoning. Like when you're in toxic end-stage alcoholism, it's not a little hangover, You don't take a couple of aspirin and everything's good. No, you've compromised your biomechanics with ethyl alcohol. And so I'd stagger off to work. I'd drive off to work, swearing to God that today's the day. Today's the day I'm going to give up drinking. I'm going to give it up. I mean it. Listen, I know I've said this 973 times, but there's something different about this time. I mean it this time. And if you'd put a lie detector on my wrist and ask me, Chris, are you going to give up drinking today? Yes. That needle would go. This guy's telling the truth. Las Vegas would put odds on it that I'm never drinking again. But what would happen is slowly over the course of the day, I'd get rehydrated. I'd get half a sandwich down. It was a terrible day at work. They were all terrible. And quitting time's coming, and I'd start to say, that decision this morning about never ever drinking again. That's kind of an overreaction, I think, to this whole thing, and that decision might need to be modified, a little bit. As a matter of fact, I'm going to modify it right now by going to the liquor store. Now that's how deep I'm into alcoholism. Like, I swore I was not going to drink. That's a sane and sound decision. Knowing what I know about what alcohol does to me and the risks involved with that, not drinking is a sane and sound decision. How do I become insane over the day enough to drive right to the liquor store from work and start the whole cycle over again? That's alcoholism. They describe it in the book Alcoholics Anonymous as the obsession of the mind. You know, we don't have a sufficient defense against the first drink. We are powerless. So I've got this toxic experience of self-consciousness every single waking moment. You know, my thinking mind it's not in the now. It's rehashing, you know, things that had happened to me, you know, those bastards, you know. I can't believe, you know, that my boss said that, you know. And if I'm not caught up in all the turmoil and the resentment of the past, I'm caught up in the anxiety of the future. I know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to go in, the boss is going to give me words, and I'm going to give him words back. I'm going to probably have to hit him, and you know, and if I hit him, you know, I'm going to lose my job, and then if I lose my job, I won't have any money, and you know, I won't have a place. I won't my driver's, you know, and this goes on constantly in my head. This being trapped in this experience of self-consciousness. And I'm an alcoholic, so my reaction is always going to be to find some alcohol and just to try to maybe quiet all those voices. Now I show up sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. What had happened was it was in between Christmas and New Year's of 1989. I was living with Mom, you know, because of just how amazing I could handle the world. You know, I'm 32, and you know, back home with Mom, and Christmas is happening there. Like, so my brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews and cats, and you know, they're all coming for Christmas, and I go into a blackout drunk and threaten all their lives. You know, talk about you know, Scrooge. I mean, I'm gonna kill all of you. You know, and that's usually not the festive atmosphere people are looking for over Christmas. You know, and so they knew I would feel terrible after killing them all, but they better get out of the house. So they did. They all took their Christmas way upstate New York, where I couldn't find them. And I come out of this blackout, like, and I start making phone calls, like, where's everybody? You know, where is everybody? It was not good. And I started, and for 3 days I started to fish flop. You know, end-stage alcoholism, a lot of times what will happen is you'll be thrown into the delirium tremens. And if you've never experienced a delirium tremens, you know, that doesn't mean you're not an alcoholic. Only a small fraction of people do. But if you don't know what they are, I can describe them like this. Take terror, take convulsions, and take hallucinations, and put them all in a blender and press 10. You know, that's what the delirium tremens was. So for 2.5 days, I fish flopped on the floor, and there was animals running around, and there was maggots on me, and there was big things scratching on the house to come in, and I was hearing marching bands. You know, it was really not good. I came out of that. I'd had some exposure to Alcoholics Anonymous. I wasn't sure AA was going to work. I didn't think it would. But I had run out of plans. There was just no plans left for me. And I think each of us, during these moments of clarity, I think a lot of times what will happen is the grace of God will kind of direct us if we're open to it, if we're surrendered enough and done enough. The grace of God can become available. And I believe that that's the power that got me to these AA meetings. Now I start showing up in AA meetings. It's like, it's like brand new into 1990. And I don't know what alcoholism is. I don't know anything. But I grabbed a sponsor because you were told to get a sponsor. And this sponsor said, Chris, I'm going to tell you one thing. I'll give you one instruction. I want to see you at a meeting every night until I tell you to stop. So I did that. I did that for my first 8 years. I mean, it wasn't like my daytimer was filling up with an agenda at that point in time. So I started going to meetings, and here's what I realized again looking back on it. Massive amount of meeting attendance was able to keep me separated from alcohol, but it wasn't able to keep me separated from alcoholism. And thank God I was sober, right? And I'm going to all these meetings, but I'm crazy inside. I'm nuts. And I got to tell you, I had learned the technique of looking like you're not insane. We're really good at that. We can clean up, and show up sometimes. But so I'd be sitting in an AA meeting, and it'd be a discussion meeting, because I went to so many discussion meetings. I'm rarely at a discussion meeting anymore, I'll tell you. But I went to mostly discuss, because that's where all the drama is and the crazy people, and so I'm going to all these discussion meetings, and I'll be sitting there in a discussion meeting. I remember this happening, and I'm like, I'm listening to the shares, and then all of a sudden I look over, and who is raising his hand, right? The guy, right? And I'm like, oh no! I'm saying this in my head. Oh no, he's raised his hand. Oh my God, please don't call on Blowhard. Oh, don't call on him. Oh God, they called on him. Oh, now I'm gonna have to sit here and listen to him talk about his family for like 5 minutes. Oh, now he's grateful. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, that warms the cockles of my heart that he's grateful. I think I'll go outside right now and slash all 4 of his tires, and then I'll walk out of the meeting with him, because I want to see how that gratitude holds up, Oh, thank God he's done. Thank God he's shut up, Now, I can't let this kind of stuff is going through my mind. You'd throw a net over me, right? So I'm just sitting there like a good AA. Thanks for sharing. I swear to you, if this is the kind of turmoil and insanity that's going through your head, you've got a toxic case of alcoholism, and I believe the steps are specifically designed to treat that type of crazy. Because if I don't become comfortable with you and comfortable with this thing called Alcoholics Anonymous and comfortable with spirituality and spiritual principles, I'm not going to make it, So somewhere along the line, some people gave me some big book workshop studies, and my sponsor came up to me, and he knew I had those sensitive newcomer alcoholic feelings, right? So he was always very careful with me. Chris, it might be coming time, when you should be thinking about doing a 4-step, sometime soon, that's how he'd have to handle me like that. I'd be like, what? So it came time. It came time for me to look at it. Now, I said before that the fourth step and the 5th step, it'll hit you where you are. But it also has incredible value for wherever we are on the recovery spectrum. where it hit me in the beginning was I dumped things that I never thought I would ever admit to. Tallahassee 77. I put it all down on there, and I put down things that patterns of my behavior, and I put everything I possibly could on this, and then I went out with my sponsor, and he took me to a park because he liked to multitask, so he could walk his dogs while he was listening to the fifth step. I do that myself today. I'm all about multitasking. Anyway, I have this thing. It was on 2 pieces of paper. I still have it today. The writing was so small, it would have been like -5 font. I can't even read it today with my. But there was a ton of stuff on a couple of pages, and I remember we're walking through the park. And I'm like, I resent my boss, Tallahassee, and I dumped all this stuff on him, right? And he's just walking the dogs, there's not a lot of reaction from him, like that's really unusual. Do you want me to speak louder? And at the end, he goes, is that it? And I go, yeah, that's it. And he goes, that's not so bad. We can work with that. And I was insulted. You know what I mean? Because I have to either be the worst or I got to be the best. You can't put me in the middle somewhere, And I thought, he'd be horrified with this stuff. He's like, and I started to hear some of his story, and he was right. He crashed more cars than me. So anyway, that experience, being as transparent and as authentic about my life as I could possibly be at that point in my sobriety, and sharing it with somebody was transformative for me. Because I walked into the park with my head down like, and I walked out with my head up. And it was the first time I felt like maybe I'm not such a pathetic scumbag. Maybe I have this illness called alcoholism. And a lot of these things are reactions from alcoholism and symptoms from alcoholism. Maybe I'm not really a bad person. And it was the first time I started to feel like that. Now in the 4-step, I later learned how to actually do a 4-step instead of just dumping a whole bunch of stuff on a paper, because I started to listen to some really, really good workshop people. So I learned that you kind of got to use the book Alcoholics Anonymous, instead of your own head. But listen, I come from a period of time where nobody was cracking the big buck. Nobody was taking sponsees over their house and taking them through the steps. It was unheard of in 1990. They would have called the cops if they heard somebody was doing that. It was just different. So anyway, I hear these workshop tapes, and they kind of broke it down for me. And so the 4th and the 5th steps that I had done from that period on were deeper, and they were more of a profound experience. So the first thing they asked me to look at is my resentment, and the funniest thing is I've worked with a lot of guys, and they'll go, "I'm not resentful at anybody." You're so resentful, you don't think you're resentful, So the first thing I need to look at is who and what am I angry at, right? I am really unhappy. And at core, my life has not worked out very well. I've lost, my driver's license, 9 cars in drunken blackouts, a whole family. I could give you the laundry list. Here I am with moms with a bad job and a $100 car, no money, and that I just can't take full responsibility for that. Not in a toxic experience of self-consciousness. So I'm mad at all of you because I'm not getting what I think I deserve. I'm not getting the fair breaks. You know, the world is not, offering me what it should. So I'm mad at everybody and everything. And it asks me to go really deep into this. Not only does it ask me, why am I angry? It explains to me that I can't be angry unless something I want or something I have is being harmed, threatened, or interfered with. So it asks me to look at those things. What are the things in your life that can become harmed, threatened, or interfered with? And I look at that. And then there's a prayer, and then there's a line of demarcation, and it asks me to ask myself, putting out of the minds the wrongs others have done, where have I been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? And that was mind-blowing for me. There were resentments that I had that when I looked at that, they were gone. The resentments were gone. Because honestly, looking at my mistakes and my faults brought me to a realization that they probably acted appropriately considering the circumstances. You know what I mean? So that was profound for me. The second thing it asks me to look at is my fear. I believe that if Bill was writing this particular chapter in 2023, instead of using fear, he would use anxiety, because that's how fear presents in alcoholics. It's not like we're cowards. Quite the opposite. Watch this. You know what I mean? We're not cowards. But there's a general level of uncomfortability, deep within us. And the inventory asks me to look at this, like, why am I uncomfortable? Why do I not want to do anything I don't want to do? Does anybody relate to that? How screwed up has your life been because you didn't do anything you didn't want to do? Like sometimes the sins of omission are worse than commission. So it asks me to look at this. Where's this fear coming from? It's an evil and corroding thread. The fabric of my existence is shot through it. It creates all kinds of circumstances that blows Chris spot up. That's a direct quote. So I need to look at that, and I looked at it really, really deeply. All right. Then there's they call it the sex harms inventory, right? But really, what it is it's a conduct inventory. How have I been conducting myself? How thusly do I comport myself? And how do I treat people? How do I treat the people I care about the most? And there's review the relationship, 9 questions, put an ideal for my future life together. All that stuff was profound for me because I'll be honest with you. If a week after I got into Alcoholics Anonymous, you came up to me and said, "Well, Chris, what do you think about women?" I would have said, "You can't trust them. They're all crazy." And I would have had this whole litany of stuff, right? I do that inventory, and I'm the one that's crazy. Listen, I was treated way better than I deserved 99% of the time. Ladies, I wasn't restraining order guy, but I was pretty close. You know what I mean? You got the hell away from me as soon as you saw a couple of things. It was like, see you later. But I didn't realize any of this stuff until I got deeply into this step 4. Did anybody, when you were out there, did anybody ever ask you this question? What is wrong with you? Anybody that ever heard that question, raise your hand. Let the record show 800 of the 1,200 people raise their hand. So when you would say that to me, because I heard that often, I'd say, well, what's wrong with you, man? I mean, I'd have to like boomerang it back on whoever was asking me because that's a difficult question, I mean, what is wrong? The 4 steps shows me what's wrong with me. I was in a meeting the other night. I just moved to a new location. There's a small big book meeting with about 12 people, right? And we're going through the 4-step. We're talking about the 4-step, and I'm going on and on about how the 4-step has helped me. And then at the end, I make the mistake of saying this. And if you're working with me, I want you finished with your 4-step at least in the first couple months. Oh my God! This one person's like, oh, it took me 4 years to get my brains out of hock. Oh, right? And I'm thinking. Who the hell wants to walk around for 4 years with your brains in a pawn shop? The 4-step is what gets your brains out of hock. You know what I mean? Like, so anyway, not that I ever judge. Far be it from me. So this 4-step it's revelatory. Find yourself a sponsor with a lot of experience going through this, and it'll be revelatory to you. Prior to doing, I want to talk about this for a few minutes. Prior to doing the 4-step, there's the 3rd step and the 3rd step prep material, right? And it's really hitting me where I currently am at a deep level now. When I first went through it, it was about the prayer, and about the willingness and the preparation. But I'm reading deeper into it these days. And Bill Wilson says this. He goes, we're examples of self-will run riot, though we usually don't think so. Selfishness and self-centeredness is the root of our troubles. Self, manifested in various ways, was what had defeated us. Now, I think he was serious when he was talking about this stuff, right? I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking, self has defeated us. What does that mean? Aren't we self and us? I believe today we're us. And I believe self is a condition. That's what I believe. I believe it's a condition because I'm slowly recovering from it. You know what I mean? So there's this book. There's this book out there. I think it's called Chasing the Scream. And it talks, in this book, it gives an example of something that I found really fascinating. And this is the example. There's a parasite that lives in the stomach of a cat. It's happier than a clam in the stomach of a cat. That's where it chills. And when it lays its eggs, the eggs get defecated out, and mice eat the eggs. And those eggs hatch inside mice. But the parasite doesn't want to be in the mouse. Parasite wants to be in the cat. So all of a sudden, the mice start doing something really unusual. They start becoming attracted to cats. And they start running around where cats are. And the cats kill them, eat the mice, and the parasite's back where it belongs. There's an outside entity that doesn't belong in the mouse that's causing it to act against its own self-interest. And I see a lot of parallels to alcoholism. There's something about alcohol and alcoholism that causes us to act that's in ways that are not in our own best interest. And how do you get to all this stuff? How do you recover from self? Bill talks about it, and there's no way of entirely getting rid of self without God's help. And I believe the whole program of Alcoholics Anonymous is based on this concept of an outrageously toxic self-experience. they ask us to inventory our behavior and our thoughts. And I start to see that I've misperceived everything. I've misperceived you. My attitude and outlook on everything is being viewed through a prism of alcoholism and self-consciousness. And that's how I see my world. And so what I'm seeing is it's not accurate. Yeah, I'm seeing what's in front of me, but my relationship to it, how I behave in it, the value I put on things is wrong. It's a misperception. And the fourth step continues, the fifth step continues to reveal more and more about this to me, as I continue my path in recovery. So way back when, I was like maybe 19 years old. For a short, brief period of time, I started to feel like there's an answer, there's a connection out there, there's something that's going to give me comfort in the spiritual world. And I started to read spiritual books because they would kind of make me feel comforted for 5 minutes. And, I would read the Carlos Castaneda and the Alan Watts, and everybody was passing around these books back in those days. And somebody handed me this book. It was called In Search of the Miraculous. It was by an author named P.D. Ouspensky, who worked with Gurdjieff. I probably always pronounce that wrong. And in it, the whole book is talking about vibrations and talking about octaves and talking about resonance and dissonance in the spiritual world. And another thing that I think the fourth and the fifth step helps me to do is it helps me by showing me closer to what actually is. It enables me to change my perspective and change my behavior so that I can become more in harmony with my environment. I am telling you, I was in dissonance with everything and everybody when I was out there drinking. There was nothing I was harmonizing with. Today, I really truly feel that with an awakened spirit, that's the brass ring. With an awakened spirit, I'm much more in harmony with the world and the dynamics in relationships and understanding my true purpose here. And all that brings me to a profound sense of gratitude to be experiencing my life the way I'm experiencing it right here, right now, with you. I'm basically a biological being having a spiritual experience on this planet with you right now. And the way I see this planet is God's playground. God built this planet and put us on it, and we're on recess. You know what I mean? And listen, we're learning how to get along. Remember in second or third grade, you were on recess, you had to learn how to play well with others? I'm still doing that. I'm learning how to play well with others. I'm learning how to be a good employee with an employer. I'm learning how to be a good home group member with a home group. I'm learning how to be a good husband in a marriage. I'm learning how to be a good brother in a family. And I'm still on the learning curve of all that. But what's unlocked the key and let me out of the bondage of Chris was the third step, the fourth step, and the steps that you're gonna hear more about as we go on. I'm gonna end in a few minutes, but I want to tell you what I'm doing now. So I retired. What happened was COVID hit, and I retired. When COVID hit, and I got furloughed, and the company never unfurloughed me. You know, they kept saying, "Oh yeah, we'll be bringing everybody back." So I got on Social Security and all that stuff, right? But I'm sitting around the house, and I got to tell you, my favorite thing in the world to do today, being as spiritually sound as I am, you want to know what my favorite thing in the world to do is? Nothing. Nothing. And so my wife will come in and she'll go, "What are you doing?" And I'll go, "Nothing." And she'll go, "Nothing." And she'll start listing all the things that I could be doing. And one of them was get a job, right? So it's not like we need the money or anything, but this job came up, right? This job came up, and it's like a really cool job. My career has been in the facility management business. I started out as an electrician, a drunken electrician. If I wired your house, sleep by the door is all I can tell you. I was not a good electrician. You know what I mean? I was forever blowing stuff up. My hair was forever, like out like this because I'd electrocute myself. Like at least once a day, I would electrocute myself. So, oh, my boss, God damn it! I told you not to touch it. Oh. So anyway, I went from there, and I got sober, and I started getting promoted. It's funny, I started getting promoted because I became promotable. Who would have thought? And I ended up the end of my career was I was running the facility business for pharmaceutical research and manufacturing sites, so huge buildings, 1 million square foot buildings with laboratories and energy centers and vivariums with primates. I mean, it just crazy the stuff that I was in charge of. I always kept wondering when they were going to figure out, they had the wrong guy. But I did pretty well with that. And then I took another job, and then I got furloughed. And so last 2.5 years or so, I'm chilling. I probably saw a lot of you on the Zooms, right? I was doing like 3 Zooms a day, seeing everybody, and it was nice. And I was doing a lot of nothing, and so that became an issue. And so I took a job, and I found this facility management job that is so perfect for me. And here's where it is. It's a hospice organization. Now, I'm in charge of all the buildings. I don't do any of the clinical, I don't engage every once in a while. But you know what I do every once in a while? I give somebody their last meeting. That's what I do. I did that last week. Now, we show up, and it's easy to spot us. Lung cancer, kidney disease, it's not, you don't have to be a brain surgeon, to spot us when we show up there. And a lot of the people that are coming in have been sober for years, but we do damage, folks. We do damage, and we pay for that damage sometime later. And I get to do that, and that's really, really a cool thing. I get to come out to Pennsylvania and hang with my buddies on a Saturday. And I've got a terrific sense of gratitude. I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I love all of you. Thank you, Andy, for